The program. Jeff, thanks for coming on. How are you today?
Steve, Paulie, always good talking to you guys. A little Eye of the Tiger to get us going.
Yeah. That was the idea. It's it's Rocky Day. It's tourney time. Postseason is upon us. So here we go. Paulie mentioned that it's been since January 4th, right? That's the only time these two teams met. Syracuse is a lot different. J.J. Starling, that was his first game back from injury. That was the last time we saw Donnie Freeman on the basketball court. He has not played since. Eddie Lampkin was in major foul trouble that day. This Syracuse team is a lot different. What about Florida State? How have things changed for the Seminoles over the course of the last 2 months?
I think the main constant, guys, for this Florida State basketball team, unfortunately, has been the lack of a constant overall. And that's why you have these two teams that are, they're playing on Tuesday here in Charlotte, right? The double-digit seed. There's been some injuries involved as well for Florida State throughout the year. We lost a couple of games to Duke and Virginia 2 weekends ago without Malik Ewan available. He has since come back. And so, Leonard Hamilton talks all the time about when Florida State has been great, it's been with experienced players. But as we have seen in this era of college athletics, it's been tough for this coaching staff here to utilize the system that they've had in place with fourth and fifth year seniors who have stuck around because nobody does that anymore. And so, the staff has tried to navigate it. They have not had the level of success, unfortunately, they used to have prior to COVID. And I think that's why you're seeing the news of a new head coach introduced yesterday, and Luke Laux, a former player that played for Leonard Hamilton during the 2012 ACC tournament title run in Atlanta. So, what's changed? Not much, honestly.
Yeah.
This team has continued to be, I think, who they are. And when we grab a little momentum, unfortunately, we take a couple of steps back, and that's why we're playing a game here on Tuesday night.
Yeah, and I think Syracuse can certainly relate to that as well. It's been that kind of year. You bring up Leonard Hamilton and the fact they've already hired their next head coach. How much did the Leonard Hamilton storyline play into that regular season finale against SMU and them winning that game? And how much do you think there will be, that emotional, carryover into tonight that they're playing for their coach and they want to extend his career as long as they can?
And I would love to say that it will, but I'm just not sure. I think it will. I really think it played a huge factor this past Saturday. I think there was a lot of pomp and circumstance. It was a huge event in Tallahassee around the game. I don't know if you guys saw the scene or saw some of the photos or video. It was an amazing afternoon and evening. I mean, Leonard Hamilton was the first African-American basketball player at UT Martin in the late 60s. And graduated in 1971. He had 7 or 8 of his teammates from that team that showed up to the game Saturday, almost 60 years ago. And so there was a lot of energy. There was a lot of emotion in the room. I think our players played one of their better games of the year because they understood the magnitude of what that game meant in his final home game at the Tucker Center. Overall, if this team can bottle that up and bring it to Charlotte, I think it's a Florida State team that you could potentially see win a couple of games here, and then who knows what happens after that. But for certain, can I tell you that's going to be the case? I can't. I think we'll find out really early on in the game what type of energy and want to this Florida State team will have against the Syracuse team, like you guys said, is playing a lot better and also had an SMU team beat essentially a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, just could not close the deal. And, talking about Leonard Hamilton, you look around the ACC right now, and we're used to long-tenured head coaches in this conference, right, with, Boeheim and Krzyzewski and Roy Williams and Larinaga and Hamilton. And those guys are all gone now. Do you think this is truly the end of an era, or will that next crop of college coaches, pop up that end up going and coaching until they're 70, 75 years old? Tom Izzo is Rick Pitino, like those guys probably aren't going to be coaching all that much longer. Do you think that inevitably, like, that next generation of coach will last that long, or are these different times where we're not going to see guys stick around until they're 70 or 75?
Yeah, great question. Mike Bray, another one, right?
Yeah,
At
right.
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I'll never forget Mike Bray's last games before he announced his resignation. Florida State beat Notre Dame in South Bend, and he slammed his headset onto the hardwood for his post-game interview right next to us. He was so upset, and I think it was a week later he announced his resignation in the middle of the season. I think there's that kind of mentality with some of these guys, depending on the situation. Our new head guy, Luke Laux, yesterday said that, as a Florida State guy, this is where he wants to end it. This is his last job. He wants to, success willing, he wants to be here for the rest of his career. And so I think there is a little bit of that out there. I think there are coaches that have places they want to end up. And even in this new climate with NIL and the portal and everything you have to navigate, I think it's just a different type of coach that is used to that to a certain degree. And not many are, but you gain experience with it. Some guys from the NBA have an understanding of how a roster changes on an annual basis. So, yeah, to answer your question, I think yes. I think there are some guys out there. It's to be seen if that will be the case. And also to answer your question, I think it is an end of an era. I think Leonard Hamilton's the last of a long line of great head coaches, pioneers, if you will, that have navigated, the old way and had success some places, some guys in multiple stops, others like Jim Boeheim, Mike Krzyzewski, at one school. So, yeah, I think it is an end of an era, especially with what Leonard Hamilton has overcome in his life, which is so impressive to go back and look at his life, his career. He truly is a Naismith Basketball Hall of Famer. There's no question in my mind.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, as you look at tonight's matchup, what do you think this game ultimately comes down to, for Florida State to take down Syracuse?
I think you got a great matchup with two great big guys. Outside of Maxime Reynaud, I think you could argue that Malik Ewan and Eddie Lampkin are the two best low post guys in the league. And I don't think you are. I think they are, right? I think those are the three best low post guys in the ACC and three of the best in the entire country in college basketball. So that matchup, who can gain an advantage early? As you mentioned, Lampkin got into foul trouble early in the game, struggled to find a rhythm and get into the teeth of the contest overall. I think that's going to be a fascinating thing to watch. And, one thing that concerns me about Syracuse, guys, is they've been shooting the ball really well here over the last few weeks. I believe 55% from the field in the month of March thus far. We know that guys like Bell and Taylor can get going and shoot the three. J.J. Starling is an elite-level scorer, an athlete when he's on, and when he's able to get it going and get it rolling. So, a lot of it to a certain degree is, hey, who's going to step outside and hit an open three in this contest tonight and hit some big shots down the stretch? But I'm fascinated with the matchup of Ewan and Lampkin, two premier big men going toe-to-toe for 40 minutes here this evening.
I think we all kind of look at this tournament and we say, Duke's going to win it. And I think most of us would be surprised if anybody outside the top three were to win it, with Louisville and Clemson in that conversation as well. Just last year, Jeff, we saw NC State. They were dead and buried. They were probably going to fire Kevin Keats, and then they went on this magical run. They won the tournament, and then they went all the way to the Final Four. Do you see any team outside of the top three in this tournament that could make a run, make some noise? Again, I don't know if they can win it, but do you see anybody who's capable of doing what NC State did last year?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind are the two teams that are on the bubble or that have played themselves out over the last couple of weeks that have to win it to get in, and that's Wake Forest and SMU. On your, with your 4 and 6 lines. I think those two teams have the capability, have the talent, and they certainly have the want to, because I think both of those teams have to win the tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. So those are the first two teams that you start with that I know they're not double-digit seeds, but those are teams outside the top three. I'll say this, guys. I think there will be a team from today that will be playing on Thursday. I'm not sure who it's going to be. It might be a Virginia Tech, who has a 10 seed, plays Cal, and then would face Stanford. I'm not sure how the two West Coast schools are going to do traveling all the way across the country. They've been out essentially on the road since last Monday, I believe, playing at Louisville and Notre Dame last weekend. So that's something to keep an eye on with Stanford and Cal. How much do they have left in the tank after a long season of travel? And I think either team tonight, I think Florida State and Syracuse with this draw, I don't think either team is afraid of SMU, obviously, by any means. So which team wins this game tonight in the final Tuesday game? You get SMU on Wednesday night late. I would not be shocked to see either a Florida State or a Syracuse playing on Thursday and winning a couple of games here in Charlotte.
Yeah, and it's a great point, too. You see it a lot this time of year where the team that has to play the extra game, they go into that second game against the higher seed with a little bit of rhythm, a little bit of momentum. The other team's just kind of getting their feet wet, and, they could come out fast, fast start, and you never know what could happen. So it's certainly a great point. Great point, Jeff. All right, well,
go ahead. And I think Louisville's really good, guys. Sorry to cut you off there, but I know they're the 2 seed. Everybody's talking about Duke, and rightly so. But with Chucky Hepburn and the ball in his hands and just the way those guys play together, a player to watch in this tournament to me who's been really good over the last month that not many people talk about is Terrence Edwards, the JMU transfer at Louisville. Terrence Edwards has been playing like his first-team All-ACC performer. I think Louisville as a 2 seed, everybody's betting on Duke, and you should. But Louisville, man, they are playing some really good basketball under Pat Kelsey right now.
Yeah, and Pat Kelsey winning Coach of the Year yesterday. Very well-deserved honor for him. Jeff, great stuff, great analysis. We appreciate the insight. Have a great call tonight, and hopefully we'll chat again down the road.
Guys, always fun. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
All right, we appreciate you. Jeff Culhane, the voice of the Florida State Seminoles. And with that, we'll take our final timeout. We'll wrap things up next on ESPN Radio.